Powerlifting is one of the only sports where you are still allowed to compete while using PEDs. Not only that, but it is only in these untested federations that athletes are financially compensated for their performance. Even though these options are on the table, some enhanced athletes still choose to compete in a tested environment. With strict testing procedures in place, they do risk suspension and a fine. Today we're going over 5 cases where an athlete did fail their drug test. Norris. In 2015, after competing at USAPL Raw Nationals, Jesse got a notification that he had failed his recent drug test. He totaled 1933 pounds on that day, and after the results became public, he got disqualified. Jesse later went on Instagram to explain the situation. He tested positive for a stimulant, and as an athlete this is probably the most minor violation you can occur. He went on to explain that he took a new pre-workout that probably had a stimulant in it. Jesse received a 6-month ban for his violation, but everything worked out in the end, because in his time away from the IPF, he was able to break the all-time world record in his weight class. Boskas. You might remember Amandas as the 2018 IPF World Champion in the 120 kg weight class. If you saw the comments on the video where he won that title, you definitely saw the comments about substance abuse. It was only a year before his victory that he failed his drug test, and in the official report it said he failed for metabolic and hormone modulators. This can be substances like insulin, but more commonly it's things like estrogen blockers. Testosterone and estrogen have a very similar chemical structure, and in the breakdown process, testosterone aromatizes to estrogen. Now this can have some unwanted effects for lifters, like gyno, where they get puffy nipples. To combat this effect, they can take estrogen blockers post-cycle. This isn't as bad as getting caught red-handed, so Amanda's only got a 6-month suspension. Kelly Branton. An athlete that was caught red-handed was Kelly Branton. For years he was the face of Canadian powerlifting, and he was inching towards a 1000-pound squat and a 600-pound bench. In 2019 he was prepping for the IPF World Championship when he received a notification that he failed his drug test. He tested positive for SARMs and other substances, so the situation is quite different than the previous two. I believe he received a 4-year ban from the IPF, and he immediately went on Instagram to address the situation. While he initially got a lot of support from the community, he now seems to have vanished from the face of the earth completely. Maybe the worst thing is that he almost certainly would have won the World Championships that year, because Ray Williams bombed out in that same meet. Gowan. Probably the most notorious lifter on this list is Gowan. He failed his first drug test in 1985, where he tested positive for DECA. For this first violation, I believe he only received a ban for 9 months. 4 years later, Ed was back at it again, because he failed a ratio test in that year. He later appealed this, but his appeal was not granted. In 1996, he got flagged again for his testosterone ratio. This time they weren't so nice, because Ed received a lifetime ban from the federation. Almost 20 years later, WADA was still mad at Gowan, because since 2016 it's an offense to join one of Gowan's Jamal Browner. I realized I talked about Jamal's transition from untested to tested lifting on the channel before, but I never told the story behind this. In 2017, Jamal had switched from conventional to sumo, and things were going well for him. He had his sights set on the 105 kilo junior world record, and it was looking like he was gonna make it. Unfortunately, he unexpectedly failed a drug test for turinabol. He received a 4-year ban from the federation and had to pay a $2,000 fine. Jamal ended up appealing the decision, but he didn't win. When he had the sample retested, the drug still appeared. Till this day, Jamal keeps saying that he never willingly took any forbidden substances. That was it for the video. Follow Kofi Tyrell on Instagram. He just pulled a 240 kg deadlift while only being 17 years old. If you want to be featured in these videos, DM us on Instagram and don't forget to like and subscribe.